Hello. Today we are going to learn IoT security and privacy in Internet of Things. In Module 4, we have these topics: threats and risks in the IoT, security and privacy controls and mechanisms, compliance and regulatory requirements, IoT governance, risk and compliance. As with any technology, IoT also comes with its own set of threats and risks. The interconnectedness of devices and the vast amount of data generated by IoT devices make them vulnerable to various types of attacks. Some of the common threats and risks in the IoT include: 1. Security breaches. IoT devices can be compromised by attackers who can steal sensitive data, hijack the devices, or launch a denial of service DOS attack. This can result in financial losses, reputational damage, or even physical harm. 2. Privacy violations. IoT devices can collect a vast amount of personal data about users, such as their location, behavior, and preferences. This data can be misused by attackers, leading to privacy violations and breaches of personal information. 3. Malware. IoT devices can be infected with malware, which can compromise the device and potentially spread to other devices on the network. Malware can be used to steal data, launch attacks, or cause physical damage to the device. 4. Lack of standardization. IoT devices are often built using different hardware and software platforms, making it difficult to ensure interoperability and security across different devices. 5. Complexity. IoT systems can be complex, involving multiple devices, protocols, and software platforms. This complexity can make it difficult to manage and secure the system effectively. 6. Lack of updates. IoT devices may not receive regular updates and patches, leaving them vulnerable to known security vulnerabilities. To mitigate these risks and threats, it is essential to implement security measures, such as encryption, access controls, and regular updates. Additionally, it is important to establish a security policy that outlines best practices for the use and management of IoT devices and systems. Users and organizations should also be aware of the potential risks and threats associated with IoT and take appropriate measures to protect themselves and their data. To ensure the security and privacy of IoT devices and systems, there are several controls and mechanisms that can be implemented. 1. Authentication and access control. Devices should be authenticated and authorized to access the IoT network. Access control mechanisms such as firewalls, VPNs, and user permissions can be used to restrict access to sensitive data and systems. 2. Encryption. Encryption can be used to protect data in transit and at rest. Data encryption can prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data by encrypting it before transmitting it over the network or storing it on the device. 3. Data integrity and validation. Data integrity mechanisms such as checksums and digital signatures can be used to verify that data has not been altered or corrupted in transit. 4. Patch management. Regular software updates and patches should be applied to devices to address known security vulnerabilities and improve the overall security posture of the system. 5. Physical security. Physical security measures such as locks, cameras, and access control systems can be used to prevent unauthorized physical access to the devices and the data they store. 6. Privacy protection. Privacy controls such as data minimization, consent mechanisms, and privacy policies can be implemented to ensure that personal data is collected and used in a manner that respects the privacy of the individual. 7. Intrusion detection and prevention. Intrusion detection and prevention mechanisms can be used to detect and prevent attacks on the IoT system. These mechanisms can include network monitoring tools, intrusion detection systems, and security analytics. 8. Incident response. An incident response plan should be developed to ensure that security incidents are detected, reported, and responded to in a timely manner. The plan should include procedures for containment, investigation, and remediation of security incidents. Implementing these controls and mechanisms can help to mitigate the risks and threats associated with IoT devices and systems and ensure the security and privacy of the data and individuals involved. IoT devices and systems are subject to various compliance and regulatory requirements depending on the industry, region, and type of data being collected and processed. Some of the common compliance and regulatory requirements for IoT include 1. General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). The GDPR is a regulation in the European Union (EU) that governs the collection, processing, and storage of personal data. It applies to all organizations that process the personal data of EU residents, regardless of where the organization is located. 2. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. HIPAA. HIPAA is a US law that sets standards for the protection of sensitive patient health information. It applies to healthcare providers, health plans, and healthcare clearinghouses that transmit or maintain health information. 3. Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard (PCI DSS). PCI DSS is a set of security standards that applies to organizations that accept credit card payments. It sets requirements for the protection of cardholder data, including data encryption, access controls, and regular vulnerability scans. 4. Children's Online Privacy Protection Act (COPPA). COPPA is a US law that applies to websites and online services that collect data from children under the age of 13. It requires organizations to obtain parental consent before collecting any personal information from children. 5. Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act (CISA). CISA is a US law that encourages the sharing of cybersecurity threat information between the government and private sector organizations. It also sets requirements for the protection of sensitive government information. 6. International Organization for Standardization. ISO standards. The ISO has developed several standards related to IoT, including ISO or EEC 27001 Information Security Management, ISO or EEC 27018 Cloud Privacy, and ISO or EEC 30141 IoT Reference Architecture. Compliance with these regulations and standards can be complex and require significant effort from organizations. However, failure to comply can result in legal and financial penalties, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. It is important for organizations to understand the relevant regulations and standards and implement appropriate controls to ensure compliance. IoT governance, risk, and compliance. GRC refers to the process of managing and mitigating risks associated with IoT devices and systems while ensuring compliance with relevant regulations and standards. IoT GRC involves a comprehensive and systematic approach to managing risks, ensuring compliance, and maintaining effective governance of IoT systems. IoT GRC involves the following key components. 1. Governance. IoT governance refers to the processes, policies, and structures that govern the use and management of IoT devices and systems within an organization. It involves setting goals and objectives, establishing policies and procedures, and defining roles and responsibilities. 2. Risk management. IoT risk management involves identifying, assessing, and mitigating risks associated with IoT devices and systems. It involves identifying potential threats, evaluating their likelihood and impact, and implementing controls to mitigate the risks. 3. Compliance management. IoT compliance management involves ensuring compliance with relevant regulations and standards. It involves identifying the applicable regulations and standards, establishing controls to ensure compliance, and monitoring and reporting on compliance. 4. Information management. IoT information management involves managing the data generated by IoT devices and systems. It involves establishing policies and procedures for data collection, storage, and use, and implementing controls to ensure the security and privacy of the data. Effective IoT work requires a coordinated and cross-functional approach that involves multiple stakeholders within an organization, including IT, legal, compliance, risk management, and business units. By implementing effective IoT work, organizations can minimize risks associated with IoT devices and systems, ensure compliance with relevant regulations and standards, and maintain the trust and confidence of customers and stakeholders. Thank you for watching us.